It was a late summer evening when I pulled into my driveway, the kind of day that leaves you drained from endless meetings and city noise. My Rolls-Royce Phantom, a midnight blue beauty with hand-stitched leather, gleamed under the streetlights. I was barely out of the car when I spotted Ida, garish yellow slip-tucked under the windshield wiper. At first, I figured it was some flyer for a local car wash, but as I stepped closer, my stomach twisted. This wasn't an ad. It was a violation notice, scrawled in aggressive handwriting. Saw this vehicle is unapproved for this community. So I laughed out loud, assuming it was a prank. Who tickets a car in their own driveway? But before I could crumple the paper and toss it, I heard the sharp click saw of heels storming toward me. "Excuse me," a voice snapped, dripping with indignation. I turned to see a woman mid-50s, perfectly coiffed hair, arms crossed like she was about to scold a child. Her face was already red, like she'd been stewing for hours. That car is in violation of our community standards. Flashy vehicles like that drag down property values and attract the wrong kind of attention. I took a deep breath, forcing a smile. "Good evening. I think there's a misunderstanding. This is my driveway, and I've read the HOA rules. There's nothing about what kind of car I can own." She scoffed, her eyes narrowing. "I'm Vanessa, HOA president, and I decide what's acceptable here." That she jabbed a manicured finger in my Rolls-Royce, is not. I'd only been in this upscale neighborhood for 3 months. After selling my tech startup for a life-changing sum, I wanted a quiet, well-kept lawns, friendly faces, and a spot close enough to the city, but far enough for peace. The HOA seemed standard when I bought the place. The rules were reasonable, mostly about yard maintenance and no junk vehicles. What I didn't expect was Vanessa. My neighbor, Lisa, had warned me over homemade brownies on move-in day. Vanessa had crowned herself the neighborhood's enforcer years ago, bullying her way into an HOA board seat through sheer persistence and intimidation. No one else wanted the hassle of running against her. Since then, she'd been on a mission to mold the community into her vision of perfection, inventing rules and terrorizing anyone who didn't comply. My Rolls-Royce became her obsession. I didn't buy it to flaunt wealth. It was a reward for years of grinding, a masterpiece of engineering I admired. But to Vanessa, it was a personal affront. "I've checked the HOA regulations," I told her calmly that first night. "There's no rule against vehicles unless they're commercial or broken down. My car's neither." Her lips pursed. "Well, there should be. Until then, keep that monstrosity in your garage where it belongs." She spun on her heel and stormed off, Leah vying me holding her fake ticket, wondering what kind of nightmare I'd moved into. The next few weeks were a slow-burning war. Every few days, a new citation appeared on my windshield, each more absurd than the last. One claimed my car was too reflective, distracting drivers. Another said luxury vehicles weren't family-friendly. The most ridiculous? My Rolls-Royce was attracting admiring glances, making it a public nuisance. I tried reasoning with Vanessa. I invited her for coffee to talk it out, even offered to attend an HOA meeting to clear things up. She shut me down, insisting her word was law. Neighbors started sharing their own horror stories. Vanessa had hounded one family for painting their door charcoal instead of the approved sage green. Another got daily notes about their kid's basketball hoop. She was relentless. Things escalated when I caught her snapping photos of my car from the street. Documenting violations, she claimed, but when I suggested photographing private property without consent might be illegal, she sneered, "You must have something to hide." Then came the threatening no test no longer, just citations, but warnings of daily fines and legal action. One even mentioned a lien on my house. Each was signed Vanessa Thompson, HOA President with a fancy stamp I later learned she'd ordered online. I stayed patient, but my patience was wearing thin. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning. I was rushing out for a meeting when I saw it. Another citation, but this time a bright orange wool boot clamped to my car's front tire. It was a cheap, online-bought lock, but it was meant to tram my Rolls-Royce. Attached was a notice with an official HOA seal declaring my car immobilized pending removal. My blood boiled. This wasn't just harassment, it was vandalism. I'd had enough. I bypassed Vanessa's fake contact number and called the real HOA management company. The rep was baffled. Sir, we don't issue citations for vehicle types. As long as it's not commercial or damaged, you're fine. And we definitely saw, don't boot cars, that's illegal. When I mentioned Vanessa, there was a long pause. Vanessa Thompson isn't the president. She's just a board member. Stephen Caldwell is the president. I called Stephen, who was mortified. He asked for photos of the citations and the boot. Within an hour, he and 2 board members were at my house, apologizing as they pried off the clamp. This is unacceptable, Stephen said, shaking his head. Vanessa's been overzealous before, but forging documents? This is criminal. As they left, a tow truck roared into my driveway, Vanessa striding beside it, her face smug with triumph. She pointed at my car. Finally, we're getting rid of this eyesore. But when she saw Stephen and the board members, her confidence wavered. Good, you're here, she bluffed. I've authorized this tow as president. Stephen stepped forward. Vanessa, stop. The HOA didn't approve this. She waved a document. I have the paperwork. The tow driver, a gruff guy with zero patience, snatched it, scanned it, and frowned. This looks fake. I need real authorization to tow from private property. Vanessa's face turned crimson. I saw the authorization. Stephen cut in. No, you're not. I'm the president, and you know it. The scene spiraled into chaos. Vanessa shouted about property values and community standards, while the tow driver backed off, muttering he wasn't getting involved. I'd seen enough. I dialed 911. When the police arrived, Vanessa launched into a tirade, claiming she was protecting the neighborhood, and my car broke HOA rules. The officers listened, then asked for the HOA regulations. Stephen showed them on his tablet no rules against luxury cars. Ma'am, an officer said, there's no violation here. Vanessa doubled down. There should be. I'm the president. Stephen snapped. She's not. I am. The officer examined Vanessa's citations, his face hardening. Did you create these? They use an official seal and threaten legal action. That's fraud and impersonation. He pointed at the boot. And immobilizing a vehicle on private property? That's attempted theft and vandalism. Vanessa paled, stammering, but I'm on the board. The officer was unmoved. Being on the board doesn't let you forge documents or boot cars. We're taking you to the station. As they read her rights, Vanessa's bravado crumbled. She looked around, desperate for support, but the neighbors watching from their lawns just stared, silent. You can't do this, she screamed as they led her to the cruiser. I was protecting our community. She caught my eye as the door slammed shut, her glare a mix of fury and disbelief. I almost felt bad. Almost. 2 days later, Stephen called with an update. Vanessa faced charges of fraud, forgery, harassment, and attempted theft, serious crimes with up to 5 years in prison and due 20,000 in fines. She'd broken down in tears when her lawyer explained her HOA enforcement was a crime spree. She was kicked off the HOA board, banned for life, and her real estate license was under VYEW. Apparently, harassing homeowners wasn't a great look for a realtor. When word spread, 3 other neighbors came forward with their own stories of Vanessa's tyranny. Her reign was over, and the neighborhood felt lighter, like a storm had passed. Standing on my porch, watching my Rolls-Royce gleam in the driveway, I couldn't help but smile. It wasn't about the carrot, it was about standing up to a bully who thought she could rule through fear. But it got me thinking, and I want to hear from you. Was Vanessa just a power-hungry busybody? Or did she have a point about community standards? Should HOAs have the power to dictate what cars we park in our own driveways? And here's a hot one. Was I wrong to keep my Rolls-Royce out front, knowing it might ruffle feathers? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Smash that like button if you enjoyed the drama. And subscribe for more stories that'll keep you glued to your screen.